We hold the advantage. Every variable is in our hands. The objectives are defined and they are not negotiable. Anything can be targeted. Anything can be held at risk. The United States military now dictates the outcome of that battlefield. There will be no nuclear weapons handed to terrorist regimes. And right now, they are being hit with overwhelming force. Their Navy has been erased. Their Air Force no longer exists. Their leadership structure has collapsed. Their air defenses are gone. Everything has been systematically dismantled. At Royal Air Force Station Fairford in the United Kingdom, preparations were underway for a major combat operation. B-52H Stratofortress bombers sat on the flight line, being readied for a mission aimed at destroying Iranian missile infrastructure. On March 20th, the British government authorized the use of U.S. military facilities based in the UK, including RAF Fairford and Diego Garcia, to support active combat operations. Around the aircraft, activity never stopped. Ground crews worked with precision and urgency. Teams of mechanics surrounded each bomber, focusing on the 8 Pratt & Whitney TF-33 turbofan engines mounted beneath the wings. Engine cowling panels were opened, exposing internal components as technicians carefully inspected turbine blades for cracks, wear, or any sign of foreign object damage. Nearby, hydraulic munitions loaders, MJ-1 jammer trucks, rolled into position carrying heavy ordnance. The B-52H is capable of carrying up to 70,000 pounds of mixed weapons, and for this mission, the loadout was extensive. The primary weapons included 2,000-pound Mark 84 general-purpose bombs, each nearly 12 feet long. Alongside them were AGM-86C conventional air-launched cruise missiles weighing roughly 3,150 pounds each and capable of striking hardened targets from distances exceeding 600 miles. In addition, precision-guided munitions were loaded, among them the GBU-31 JDAM, a 2,000-pound GPS-guided bomb designed for pinpoint strikes against fortified missile storage bunkers. One by one, each weapon was lifted and mounted. Some were attached to external wing pylons, while others were carefully loaded into the internal bomb bay. Inside, they were secured onto the Common Strategic Rotary Launcher, the heart of the B-52's internal weapons system. This rotary launcher is a cylindrical drum mechanism mounted within the bomb bay, capable of holding up to 8 cruise missiles or bombs at a time. When commanded, it rotates to position each weapon for release, allowing continuous deployment without repeatedly opening and closing the bomb bay doors. This system enables rapid sequential strikes with maximum efficiency. Ground crews tested the mechanism thoroughly. The launcher was rotated through its full cycle, ensuring each station locked securely and released correctly. Electrical connections between the launcher and the aircraft's fire control systems were verified, leaving nothing to chance. While the aircraft were being prepared outside, the 5-man crew was undergoing their own preparations. The mission ahead was long, approximately 4 hours and 30 minutes to reach the target area in Iran. Inside the crew room, pilots checked their oxygen masks, ensuring proper seals and verifying airflow through the regulators. Communication systems were tested through the intercom. Each crew member packed their flight bags, water, food, navigation charts, checklists, and essential gear for a mission that would stretch across many hours. Up in the cockpit, the pilot and co-pilot took their positions in side-by-side ejection seats on the upper deck. They began running through the pre-flight checklist step by step. Mission coordinates were entered into the navigation system, plotting waypoints from RAF Fairford to the Iranian target zone and mapping the return route. Every instrument was checked and cross-checked: altimeters, airspeed indicators, engine performance gauges, fuel levels, communication radios, and terrain-following radar systems. Nothing was overlooked. Below them, on the lower deck, the navigator and radar navigator took their stations. The navigator, seated on the right, was responsible for guiding the aircraft along its route, managing timing, and ensuring precise arrival at each waypoint. He continuously cross-referenced navigation data, instructing the pilots when to adjust speed or heading. To his left sat the radar navigator, the bombardier. His role was critical. Using the aircraft's offensive avionics systems, he identified targets, managed targeting pods, selected appropriate weapons, and executed releases with precision timing. He operated across 4 separate displays simultaneously, monitoring radar imagery, weapon status, coordinates, and delivery parameters. Once all systems were confirmed and the aircraft fully armed, clearance for departure was issued. The B-52 slowly taxied onto the runway at RAF Fairford, aligning with the center line. The pilots advanced all 8 throttles forward. The massive bomber accelerated, consuming nearly the entire runway under the weight of fuel and ordnance before finally lifting into the air. The mission profile was clear: depart from RAF Fairford, fly directly to Iran, and strike designated missile targets. After the strike, the aircraft would not return immediately to the UK. Instead, they would divert to Sofia Airport in Bulgaria for refueling before completing the journey back to Fairford. Two B-52 bombers flew this mission together, heading southeast across Europe and the Mediterranean toward Iranian airspace. Upon reaching the target zone, control of the strike shifted to the radar navigator. He confirmed coordinates, verified weapon selection, and initiated the attack sequence. The bomb bay doors opened. Inside, the rotary launcher began to spin, positioning each weapon for release. One after another, bombs and cruise missiles dropped in rapid succession, descending toward Iranian missile sites below. Each release was monitored closely, with confirmation of separation and tracking all the way to impact. With the payload fully expended, the bomb bay doors closed, and the aircraft turned away from the target area. Following the mission plan, the bombers diverted to Sofia Airport in Bulgaria for refueling. Although the B-52 had the range to return directly to the UK, this stop was included as a precaution and to maintain operational flexibility. After refueling, the aircraft continued back to RAF Fairford. Upon landing, drag parachutes deployed from the rear of each bomber, large canopies that expanded rapidly, slowing the aircraft and reducing landing distance on the runway. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic at a U.S.-based B-52 airfield, another crew was receiving a rapid deployment briefing. A third bomber was being prepared to reinforce operations, tasked with flying to RAF Fairford to sustain the strike campaign. The crew reviewed flight plans, analyzed weather conditions along the Atlantic corridor, and finalized preparations. Their aircraft was already waiting, fully fueled, inspected, and loaded with ordnance for its first combat sortie from the UK. The pilots loaded their gear on board: flight bags, survival equipment, mission documents, and provisions for the long journey ahead. The B-52 taxied out and took off, heading east over the Atlantic Ocean. As the aircraft settled into cruise, the crew transitioned into long-duration flight operations. On the lower deck, the navigator tracked the aircraft's position across the ocean, while the radar navigator monitored weather patterns. The electronic warfare officer kept a constant watch on threat detection systems, even in friendly airspace, standard protocol for any B-52 mission. Midway through the flight, aerial refueling was scheduled. Hours into the crossing, a KC-135 Stratotanker appeared ahead on radar. The pilots established radio contact and carefully maneuvered into position. The B-52 approached from below and behind, gradually closing the gap. Above them, the tanker's boom operator extended the refueling boom downward. Holding steady, the B-52 pilot maintained precise positioning as the boom connected to the refueling receptacle located on the top of the bomber's fuselage. Fuel began to flow. For several minutes, the transfer continued until the tanks were topped off. Once complete, the boom disconnected. The B-52 eased back and separated from the tanker before continuing its flight path toward England.